Poor Things, the movie that won Emma Stone her second Oscar, has left us with many questions about Bella's anatomy. We all know that Bella is not an ordinary woman. She is a 30-year-old woman with the brain of a child, discovering the wonders and horrors of human existence through one unbalanced step after the other. And the most extraordinary fact about Bella's anatomy lies in her brain development. As the story progresses, her creation challenges the boundaries of what we know, and we're here to help you understand the biological, psychological, and physiological marvel that defines her existence at every point of the story. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Bella's paradoxical existence, mind and body in conflict. Bella Baxter is a woman whose anatomy will always be open to interpretation. She is a creation, a scientific marvel stitched together from fragments of life. And all of this is credited to one person, Dr. Godwin Baxter, a man obsessed with defying mortality, played God and transplanted the mind of an unborn child into the body of a drowned woman named Victoria. This resulted in one of the most intriguing paradoxes similar to that seen in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Although the book and movie present different interpretations of the same story and characters, according to Aleister Gray's novel Poor Things, Bella was 25 years old when the story began, though she was around 30 in the film. Bella's physical age doesn't align with her mental age, creating an intriguing inconsistency. This means, practically, Bella's body should always be 30 years older than her mind. However, we see an immensely uncalculated mental growth in Bella that seems to be shaped more by her experiences than by time. She starts off with the mental and vocal capacity of a 2-year-old and ends up transforming into a well-read and ambitious woman of 20 or older. Is Bella forever a child? The most tantalizing question imprinted in the audience's mind is, will Bella forever stay a child in some sense? The film leaves us with this ambiguity. As Bella would say, it is a question to ponder, dissect, explore, investigate. Well, it is hard to conclude that her brain would ever completely catch up with her physical age. Although we see her navigate a world that perceives her as an object, a plaything for men like Duncan Wedderburn, we also see her hunger for knowledge, for understanding the ways of the world, for exploring and defining her own identity regardless of societal norms and expectations. Along with this, if you factor in the accelerated rate with which her language, balance, thoughts, and intellect flare up within months or a few years of her journey, I would say her brain would eventually catch up with her body completely. Even though it is difficult to accurately measure the rate and level of her mental capacity at any given point, I will try to discuss her physical, mental, and psychological development throughout each section of the movie.
I will marry Max, as he seems...
From blank slate to first steps, Bella's dawning consciousness at Godwin's house, childhood years. Taking a moment, I must say that the cinematography in Poor Things holds a multi-dimensional mirror of Bella's evolving character. The visual language, experimentation with angles and optics, and playful approach to how the story begins are just as crucial to captivating the audience from the start as Bella's childlike behavior. The story kicks off with Bella playing piano with both her hands and legs. I am not gonna lie to you, I might have only been obsessed with Chopin, but there was a hauntingly beautiful flow to her music, even at the time when she had the cognitive capabilities of a 2 to 3-year-old toddler. In the beginning, her beady, curious eyes explored everything around her. She played with utensils, clapped when Godwin burped, and even spat out food. These actions hinted at her awareness at that point, but that's not all. We also witnessed her babbling, stumbling, and struggling to walk. She also threw tantrums, peed her pants, playfully hit strangers' noses, and hugged her father with a toddlerish charm. One thing I would like to point out here is that although Bella's view of the world doesn't shape the people in her life initially, she does show a lack of empathy for dead people and animals. But I wouldn't hold it against her, as at this stage, her mind is that of a toddler. Plus, this show of lack of empathy serves in favor of her transformation when she finally learns the ugly truths of the society and people around her and wants to change the world. But right after Max McCandless's arrival, we watched her grow progressively. As Max mentioned, she gathered 15 words a day, which is evidently 5 times more than a toddler at this age. At this stage, she uses broken up sentences with verbs, adjectives, nouns, and such to convey her meaning to the people around her. Dialogues like, "Why you pin book every nut," come to mind. This characteristic is similar to a 3 to 4 4-year-old child, and although her coordination and motor skills are progressing fast, I believe her cognitive skills were a little ahead in the race for a while. Not just that, but she has an unquenching thirst for knowledge and adventure, which eventually leads her to force Godwin to take her out. And then, as we all know, she meets Duncan Wedderburn. But right before meeting Duncan, Bella discovers the sweet embrace of sexual pleasure. Although she had the mind of a developing child, this shows that her hormonal anatomy follows the needs of her 30-year-old grown-up body. A yearning for adventure. Bella's time with Duncan Wedderburn, teenage years. For Bella's adventurous spirit and developing brain, Duncan Wedderburn represented the gateway to the exciting and uncharted corners of the world. By this point, she was conscious enough to catch on to the underlying danger of going with Duncan, and he surprisingly turned out to be only as harmful as she had anticipated. Her conversation with Godwin about her plans to travel marks the beginning of a more independent Bella. This is represented in her words: "You hold Bella too tight, and kiss me and set me forth. If you do not, Bella's insides shall turn rotten with hate." This transformation not only just marks the beginning of a more independent Bella, but of a rebellious one too. Just like most kids during their teenage years, she too understands that her parents held her too tight, and it was time for her to explore the world on her own. These words mark the emergence of a more independent Bella, a young woman yearning to break free from the constraints of her upbringing. She also understood the necessity of making mistakes and learning from them, and Duncan Wedderburn was her stepping stone in this journey. Bella's arrival in Lisbon marks the beginning of her sexual awakening to the fullest. Just as adolescence is marked by exploration and newfound sensations, Bella's encounter with Duncan ignited a fire within her. The subtle parallels between her experiences and those of a teenager navigating desire, vulnerability, and self-awareness were unmistakable. She tried rollicking new food, explored the vibrant and musical city, danced like there was no tomorrow, got drunk for the first time, and even got tattoos. She was kind of on her own for the very first time in her life, and it filled her with a hunger for more. All she could find in her adventures was sugar and violence, and it weirdly coincides with what the world has to offer even today. But at this point, even with an explorer running in her blood, worldly costumes and manners did not make sense to her. Just like a child who gets annoyed by the noise of another child, she still wants to punch a baby, showing us that even though her mind is progressing rapidly, at heart, she still remains a child. This can also be seen in the childish and unbalanced way she walks in heels, which immediately reminds you of a toddler trying on their mother's heels. But besides all this, a woman reclaiming her life and exploring her desires did not sit well with the Victorian mindset of a man like Duncan. So, he kidnapped her and trapped her on a ship, which is a very apt representation of a toxic relationship all of us suffered through during our initial dating years. And just as all of those toxic relationships served as stepping stones in shaping our personalities and identities, Duncan's actions led Bella to Martha and Harry, and nothing would ever be the same for her again.
Try and read Goethe.
Philosophy is a waste of time, Bella.
Martha and Harry's influence on Bella's transformation. Martha and Harry Astley played a significant role in Bella's development. While Martha helped Bella witness and understand what it's like to be a well-read woman with a strong philosophical mind, Harry showed her the brutal and cruel reality present in the world and within people. Their time with her helped Bella explore, traverse, and circumnavigate different parts of not just the world or people, but of her own mind as well. She finally understood that even though it is the ultimate aim of humankind to improve, cruelty lingers within her when she watches Duncan's needy, weepy, sweary personality. Finally, Harry showing her the condition of the poor in the slum was the slap in the face that spiraled Bella's innocent mind, that needed to properly understand how the world works. Never having seen the grotesque cruelty of the hierarchy that governs our society, watching dead babies lying in a ditch opened her eyes to the truth. It's similar to how we used to be unconcerned children lost in imaginary worlds, unaware and unbothered of what went on around us, and then one day learn about crime, violence, and the harsh realities that exist beyond our sheltered existence. Here, Bella's awakening mirrored our own transition from blissful naivety to conscious awareness. This understanding, along with witnessing Duncan's ever-growing toxic behavior towards her, marks a point that transforms her childlike innocent view of the world into a more practical one, which is when she properly begins the journey of defining her identity and role in the world, and it is to improve the world in any way she can.
Hello.
From innocence to empowerment, Bella's awakening, adult years. Bella's arrival in Paris marks the beginning of her adulthood. Just like after college, most of us have a better understanding of the role we have to play in the world. Now, Bella too has a purpose in life. During her time at Godwin Baxter's house, She neither had the mental capacity to understand, nor did anybody focus on teaching her the politeness and social norms of society. She didn't have a nagging mother, a disciplining teacher, or judgy neighbors, so she wasn't conditioned to act like a lady, refrain from doing what she wanted, or suppress her bodily desires. As a result, she saw no amoral restrictions in sleeping with a man for money, but for an obsessive, manipulative, possessive man of the Victorian era, this was too much for Duncan. His reaction led Bella to call quits on their adventure together and begin one of her own in the musky establishment of Madame Swiney. This is when Bella gets a chance to properly explore her womanhood. This is when she shed her innocence and stepped into a realm where pleasure and transaction coexisted. Bella discovered that her body held power, a currency that could be traded for survival. She observed the intricacies of desire, vulnerability, and human longing. Soon, Bella formed an unexpected bond with Toinette, a fellow prostitute. Toinette introduced her to more than physical intimacy. She shared her beliefs in socialism and equality. Through Toinette, Bella glimpsed a different worldview, one that questioned societal hierarchies and advocated for justice. For Bella, the brothel walls echoed with discussions about revolution and change. Not only this, but Bella's encounters with clients revealed the multifaceted nature of desire. Some sought solace, others escaped. Amidst the tangled sheets, Bella pondered the human condition. Desire wasn't merely physical, it was emotional, psychological, and sometimes tragic. The brothel, with its contradictions and complexities, became her canvas. And so, Bella's time in the brothel wasn't just about physical encounters. It was a transformative experience, an education in humanity, desire, and the intricate workings of the mind. Bella eventually returns home and ends up being captivated by Victoria's husband, Alfie Blessington. The calm composure, reasoning, and wit with which Bella handles the situation, which eventually leads to her freedom from Alfie, truly helps us pinpoint the level of mental and motor skills she has developed by the end. Can Bella reproduce? Her reproductive abilities are among the most sought-after speculations about Bella's anatomy. In my opinion, the question of Bella's ability to reproduce becomes a metaphor for her very existence. Is she truly capable of creating new life, or is she forever condemned to exist in the fabricated reality of her existence? Due to her unique creation, Bella's reproductive capabilities are equally unconventional. Bella is not a typical human. Her existence is a blend of science and fate. While the film doesn't explicitly delve into Bella's ability to reproduce, her entire being challenges the boundaries of life and death. Her unique physiology challenges traditional notions of fertility. While she may possess the physical structures necessary for reproduction, her unconventional origins raise questions about whether she can bear children. Given her extraordinary existence, any potential offspring would likely be equally exceptional. In the film, she does mention a lack of maternal instinct, but this could also be attributed to her delayed mental development. We might never get an authentic answer to this question, but in my opinion, she should be able to reproduce like an ordinary woman. I say this because not only did her mental age nearly align with her physical age as time passed, but she exhibited all the typical signs of a normally functioning female body. Frankenstein's reversal. Bella as the rise of the new woman. Bella Baxter's anatomy and transformation serve as powerful explorations of literary and scientific themes. By now, you will also be able to see how Dr. Godwin Baxter's experiment on Bella mirrors Victor Frankenstein's creation of the monster in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Bella's transformation from Victoria's body to her own represents a reversal of the traditional Frankenstein narrative. Instead of a male scientist creating life, we have a female character undergoing a metamorphosis. As you might know, in the late 19th Victorian century, women openly expressing their sexuality and asserting their needs were frowned upon, and Bella's defiance threatened the established order, especially from a male perspective. It didn't matter if it was through an adventurous man like Duncan Wedderburn or a cruel, sadistic man like Alfie Blessington. They all tried to redefine how she should behave and conduct herself. In many ways, she represents the rise of a new woman, not just physically or medically, but also literary and philosophically. She embodies intelligence, physical attractiveness, sexual agency, and free will, qualities for which women were abused, trapped, and discarded during that era. In Aleister Gray's novel Poor Things, she challenges male authority figures and even rejects the institution of marriage. As for the reversal of Frankenstein, both novels explore issues of gender, societal expectations, and the lack of a female perspective. Bella's transformation parallels the creature's creation in Frankenstein. She is the embodiment of Frankenstein's fears. She is a strong, independent female figure with heightened sexuality and a refusal to abide by gender and societal rules, representing both the reversal of Frankenstein as well as the rise of the new feminist woman of the 19th century.
Let us touch each other's genital pieces.
Marvelous verdict. Bella Baxter's anatomy is peculiar to define. She might have started out as a child's mind trapped in the body of a grown woman, but soon she becomes more than just a scientific experiment that should be observed. At the start of the movie, Bella is portrayed as a simple creature, a poor thing to be pitied and controlled, but then she takes the stage. In the latter half of the film, she breaks free of the narratives imposed on her, reclaiming her voice. Through her own words, we see a woman grappling with the limitations of her body, the confusion of her desires, and the yearning for a life beyond her creation, all of which gives us a better insight into both her physical and mental anatomy. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.